Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 1 p.m. on the Central Time Zone. As I get to ride home with you in the afternoon, we're all about truth here. You can find us on television. We are syndicated on Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com. You can also still find us on all the social media sites. We appreciate your watching us that way as well. Facebook.com/DFiesel. Continue sending emails, by the way. That's Donna at DonnasEdge.com. That's Donna at DonnasEdge.com. Again, thank you so much for watching. Okay, we're going to talk about survival tips. And my newfound friend, his name is Ron Foster, and he has written this book, and you can also find it right up there. Ron Foster talks about the Old Fart Survival Guide. And I'm just going to tell you, I talked with my Aunt Elizabeth yesterday, who was 103 years old. And we were talking about salves and all these kind of things that my great-grandmother used to make. And I said, well, what did she make the salves out of? And she said, well, they were beekeepers, where I get it in my blood. And they were beekeepers. And she said they used to use the wax that the bees made, and that made it all great. And she said, I would never, ever buy honey on the internet, only buy it from a local provider. So that's another tip for you. Wherever you're watching this show, anywhere in the world, find a local beekeeper. Okay, that's all important for you. So there's an article that is in this book, and I'm just, there are so many pages I've turned down, so bear with me just a minute, because everything is so important in this book. And he talks about survival, and water is one of the, you cannot live, you can live without food for a lot longer than you can live without water. So I wanted to show you a video that he produced. First, this is about Ron, okay? So I want you to watch this video. It's only a few minutes, and then we'll be right back, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about water and why it's so important. I'll be right back.
Watch you while you sleep, holding you, lost inside every breath you breathe. I don't wanna live a day without you. I just wanna be the one that makes you happy, happy. I don't wanna live a day without you. I just wanna be the one that makes you happy, happy. 1 minute more, 1,000 years, it's all the same to me. 'Cause I'm incomplete, and I need you more. Every breath I breathe, I don't wanna live a day without you. I just wanna be the one that makes you happy, happy. I don't wanna live a day without you. I just wanna be the one that makes you happy, happy. I just wanna be the one that makes you happy, happy. 1 minute more, 1,000 years, it's all the same to me. 'Cause I'm incomplete, and I need you more.
Pretty fabulous, huh? Not only do I love the interview, I love that song too as well. I got to get that one and put it in my phone somehow and play that every day. But prepping is a way of life. Now, that's whether you're in a good economy or a bad economy. You know, so I've been a prepper basically all my life. Not this extent, but I've always been out there to save money, and it's turned into a game for me. I think for a lot of business people it does, and so it turns into a game, like, because we understand markup and prices. Let's use eggs for an example. Eggs have been cost way too much, okay, and I know what they're using it for, and I think it was something that was done on purpose. But eggs being set over $7 a dozen, I mean, does that make any sense whatsoever? No, it doesn't. So that's why I was really glad we had our girls, we had our chickens, and so we could have eggs and not have to worry about paying ridiculous amounts of money for protein, which is a God-given thing. God gave us these animals, gave us these plants, all of these things for us. I encourage you to buy this book. I mean, it's on Amazon.com. You can also find it on Prepper.com. That's Prepper.com. And this is where Ron talks about a number of things. And we're going to talk about surviving because, again, I mentioned this earlier in the show, you can survive quite a few days not eating food, but you've got to have water. You've got to have that in your system or you won't last but just a couple of days or so. So this book, and I found it's in chapter 22 of the Old Fart Survival Guide that you can see right up there. And again, it's by Ron Foster, and it's in chapter 22 and page 390. Okay, and so this is where you can get a lot of information about how to survive in water. But I'm going to go ahead and read from the website. So if something were to happen to the grid, for instance, you know, what if? We have to wonder about those things. Basic disaster preparation for any grid down situation can be said to represent the checklist of life. Now, as preparedness-minded individuals like all of us that are watching this show, we love our list and endeavor to cover all the basics for the time period of time as we expect to survive on our own. Now, what does human being need to survive short and long term? You got to have air. You've got to have water, you've got to have shelter, and you've got to have food. Now, you've noticed Ron mentions air first. You got to have that. Then he mentions water second. It's really important. Shelter is third, and food is number 4. Let's dig in. Let's find out why he does this. Okay, what one person may consider short-term or long-term can run into from 72 hours into months and years. So everyone's list is going to be different. Our needs will be the same no matter how well prepared. You are going to run out of something. Something else is going to break, or you might have one of those oh no moments and lose everything. I mean, it can happen it can happen. Something can happen with the government. It can have a total collapse. It can happen with a tornado. We all lived through this terrible hurricane that came through the Carolinas and different areas of the country. And so everybody has their own term of what a disaster can possibly mean. Now, it's possible to lose everything in a mere instant. Your house can burn down, your bug out bags can be stolen, your water filter can burst. A billion bad luck things can happen on any given day, and they can combine with other things to form a mega disaster of some type. So bad stuff doesn't just stop happening because you're trying to survive a natural or man-made disaster. Now, as a prepper fiction author, and again, this I'm speaking to you in words of Ron Foster. He says, I put myself into stories of trying to survive and figure out what's needed with just a few twists. So let's look at one for an example. So Ron says, when I formulated in my mind the book on the road to disaster, and that book, I have that one as well. I've got the longest walk, the apocalyptic apothecary, and then the bug out gardening guide and diary of a kudzu salesman. But on his book, On the Road to Disaster, an emergency manager's disaster fiction story, he says, I envisioned a major global pandemic underway, and major hurricane had just hit the Gulf coast. Then I stepped it up a notch or two by adding martial law. Because the grid was down in many places, the linesmen and waterworks maintainers were sick or dead, and then stranded this stranded an emergency manager there where they were without supplies. Now, he also goes on to say, I ultimately complicated the scenario even more. You can read the book and find out more about that. The thing is, I left my hero with nothing. I can see some movies about this one. That's exactly what you're going to have when you run out of water and food. And at some point, you have to picture yourself in that situation in your preparedness planning. You need to be planning that now. It may never happen. We may never have another hurricane, although I hear that this is going to be an active season for hurricanes this year. So let's call it 0 day. And again, I'm quoting from Ron Foster. So let's call it 0 day. You have no food, no water, and you have to remedy that situation immediately. Do you have a plan for it now? Most people don't. You can store more food and water in order to last longer, or you can be naive and have suicidal thoughts of bugging out and living off the land. But like I said, remember that thing called bad luck, which has a pesky habit of compounding your deteriorating circumstances. Everybody has bad luck about something one way or another. It can be a loss of a job. Can be a divorce. I suffered through a terrible divorce, and I'm just going to tell you, I learned how to make it. I most certainly did, and you can too. But now there has to be some planning in there. You have to get real with yourself. Okay, you have to understand that you're not the know-it-all guru, and you've got to have help, and you've got to have folks like Ron Foster. You have to have folks like that. I would buy the books now. Okay, think about this. Okay, so let's say something happens to the grid. You know what that means? That means if something happens to the grid, you're not going to have internet service either. Okay, so you're not going to have internet. You're not going to be able to look at YouTube videos. All of these things are gone in the wind. Okay, what is a component that you can have on hand? It doesn't matter whether you've got electricity or not. It doesn't matter if something happens to the grid or not. Books. I'm just telling you, I love to read. And if you don't like to read, you need to learn how to love to read, because those things are important. So if something happens, let's say the Bug Out Gardening Guide. I've got that one right here by Ron Foster, and I've got hundreds of books out here in my bookshelf. As a matter of fact, let me just show you. Okay. That's some of my books right there. And I have more in boxes. Okay, now these books are not about, what happens in, love stories and stuff like that. I'm just not into that stuff. What I'm into is survival and how to be better. I want to be a better gardener. I want to be, I love to make all kinds, I love to preserve food. All of these things are extremely important. But you've got to have a teacher. You've got, just like Proverbs says, you've got to have somebody. You've got to listen to somebody. You've got to let someone get into your life and help you. And that's what these books are going to do. And you're paying a very, very small amount of money to get these books and to have things in your life that are going to help you and your family survive. So again, go to Amazon.com. I'm begging you to buy that book right there. The Old Fart Survival Guide. You've got to get that by Ron Foster. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so the most important thing is not whether you can live off land with nothing, but what is in your head or a book to refer to. That's the way you have to look at the long-term grid down situation that goes beyond your allocated supplies. If the grid were to go down, you can't even imagine what's going to be in store. I mean, it's not only you don't have food, you don't have water, you don't have anything to survive off of. It's that people are going to get crazy. They're going to get into a panic. They're going to find out you might have some food that may come after you. That's where, don't take my guns away from me. That's where all of that stuff happens as well. Because I'm just telling you, if it's survival for my family or survival for a thug, I'm going to choose my family. That's just the way it goes. And I know a number of you think about it exactly the same way that I do. We must have means to replace, repurpose, recover anything that affects our capabilities to supply ourselves and our families water, shelter, and food when that arises. This is why for years I've been dehydrating. And I mean, I'm talking like everything. I can even, not only the foods that I have here, but let's say I go to the farmer's market, and at the farmer's market, somebody has a bunch of peaches on sale, and they look like they're about to rot. I mean, they look like they're in bad shape. I'm buying them. They're going to mark them down to almost nothing because there's so many things I can do with those peaches. I can make vinegar out of it. I can dehydrate them and put them in containers. And I like jars. To me, it's just cleaner, and tight-fitting lids. Make sure your jars are really good and clean as well. So there are so many things that you can do to help your family and make everything be like it should be. And again, you're going to have to watch out for predators. Now, predators not only come in human form, predators can also come in form of animals, such as rabbits. Some for the cute little bunny rabbit, it's on the Disney cartoons. Yeah, that's cute and everything, but I'm talking the real world. A rabbit is going to wreak havoc to your world. They're just going to do it, especially if you have a garden. Okay, now let's go on. Again, this is the website prepper.com, and this is an article that Ron has written. And by the way, you can find all kinds of great things. You can find news, homesteading, survival retreats, off-grid, tactical gear, food, medicine. And it goes on here to show you how you can have your own medicine chest, which is what I have here. Okay, you've got to be proactive about it, not just think about it, but it's got to start in your mind at day 0, and then make a list of stuff you would like to have, but start from the solid basis of, yes, I can provide those things without buying anything. It's not too hard if you put your mind to it. You may already know a lot about survival than you think you do. So if you're thinking in the right direction, you're ready to go. Now let's start with the basics and learning how to expand on common knowledge type of skills in more survival-minded type of way. Now, some, but not all prepper fiction helps you with these skill sets in a situation, and you've got to see them through the eyes of both knowingly prepared or totally unprepared fictional characters. I'm talking real world stuff, and so is Ron. Yes, these are not true stories, but many of the writers who write these science fiction posts are in depth at making the reader have certain realizations for themselves of gaps in their preparedness, or teaches them new skills. Now let's talk about water. That's what this show is about today. Water, and how we can survive if something were to happen to the grid. Okay, now most people know that you can purify water by boiling it, but how long do you boil it? Okay, we sometimes forget that part, but generally speaking, the chart, and it's on this website here, by the way, and that's prepper.com, will refresh your memory. Now, boil water if you do not have bottled water. Boiling is sufficient to kill this bacteria, viruses, and things that can just get into the water and mess it all up for you. Now, here's some things you need to look at. If water is cloudy, let it settle and filter it through a clean cloth, paper towel, or a coffee filter. I save everything. I saved old rags. My grandmother used to save, both my grandmothers would save flour sacks. Now, back in the day, when you would buy flour, they were in a big sack. They even made clothes out of them, which I think is pretty cool. But they would save those bags, and they would use them to wash dishes with and to filter things to make sure you got all the gunk and stuff out of it. So like blackberries. Okay, so we have blackberries here on our land. And some blackberries can have this little hard like seed to them. So it's not going to be good in jam. It's not going to be good in to bite down on those things. They're really, really hard seeds. And not all, but some. So I have to have something really good to filter all that gunk out so that I can have some good jam and I can have some good juice that we drink every single morning, because that stuff is good for you. And I put like no sugar in it, by the way. The fruit is good enough. So you've got to have something with very, very thin. You can get old sheets. Don't throw them away. My preference is white sheets. I'd rather not have sheets that have any kind of dye or anything like that. And beautiful sheets like that, use those for something else. But if you're using it for food, I would use white sheets. Okay, and keep washing them. Don't wash them in the washing machine, by the way, where you're going to have like, you could have like some kind of weird something in the, I don't know. Seems like I don't trust anything, doesn't it? But I'm talking about your washing powders and stuff like that. I really don't want fabric softener or anything like that on it. I want to wash those by hand. I want to hang them out to dry, and then I keep them in a drawer in my kitchen so that I've got easy access to it anytime I need it. Okay, now, again, clean cloth. I'd prefer to use that over a paper towel or a coffee filter. That's just my preference. Bring the water to a rolling boil, at least 1 minute. Now, at altitudes above 5,000 feet, boil the water for 3 minutes. See, that's why I follow Ron Foster, because he knows how to do these things. I would have just said 1 minute, I'm done. But what if I live like in higher altitudes and I don't know about the 3 minutes? Let the water cool naturally. Store it in clean containers with covers. Now, to improve the flat taste, it's going to have a flat taste of boiled water, add 1 pinch of salt, a pinch, to each quart of water, and pour the water from one clean container to another several times. I'm going to insert Donna in here again. Okay, so I've noticed when I never buy my bottled water from a service station, and I hardly ever buy bottled water anyway, but I'd rather buy it. And I get a little bit nervous about buying bottled water when I know that it has probably sat in a truck for several hours. I hope it's refrigerated, but if it isn't, I don't know. I just feel like some kind of contamination can happen there because it's in plastic. And do this with the kids. Okay, this is a good little project. Okay, so you can learn something. The kids can learn something too. Get a bottled water. Don't open it. You need to sacrifice 1 bottle of water. Leave it out in the hot sun for just 1 week. Open it and smell it. You're going to see what I'm talking about. I feel like, I'm not a scientist, I don't know this, but I'm just using common sense here. It feels like when hot water has been sitting out in the hot sun, and I see it at some service stations where they have that hot water, bottled water sitting out there in the hot sun, it's got to do something to it. So there has to be other ways that you can do this. Now, you can boil this water if you're a little bit nervous about it, which is what I would do. Let the water cool naturally. Again, add a little bit of, just a pinch per quart of water, or pour the water from one clean container to another one for several times. Now, boiling water isn't the only way to purify it, but it's certainly one of the most effective ways to accomplish this task. Now armed with common, easily found or borrowed pot, saucepan, tin, can, etc., you can purify water. Make sure that your containers are extremely clean, by the way, and they have no contaminants in them. Okay, now who has a swimming pool in your neighborhood? Are they friends of yours? Are they approachable about using their water in a disaster if necessary before a major calamity occurs? Now, is there a nearest golf course pond? What are the conditions like going to your nearest waterway, and what is down there? You need to know all these things before something like this should happen. Now, these types of things you should be thinking about now as you store what you can in your home. You should also look into other ways of procuring water for yourself. Can you attach a rain barrel, which is what we're doing, to the gutter of the house? Where would you spread out and hang a poncho to catch the rain and channel it down into the folds into a vessel? What other water ideas do you have besides putting every pot and pan in the house out next to a drain, to a downpour? Let me tell you something. If something were to happen to the grid, I would also be concerned about what is floating all out into the air. Okay, so that's another thing you need to think of as well. We have to go into a commercial break, and we are going to return in just a few minutes, so y'all just hang in there. Okay, we'll be right back.
Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at TwinCityUsedCars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer
yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. Designs offers a line of handmade memorial, wedding, and keepsake jewelry that launched back in 1970. I'm a self-trained jewelry designer, and I will work closely with you to create unique designs you can love and treasure for years to come. Whether that be flowers that were used in a funeral arrangement or stones you found on the beach at a memorable trip, call me at 256-659-4319, and let's think of the possibilities.
At Liberty Bank, we're all about community. Whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need, toys at Christmas, or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Okay, we're back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 1 p.m. Central Time, as I get to ride with you in the afternoon. This show is actually all about Ron and his books, Apocalyptic Apothecary, The Bug Out Gardening Guide. But the one I'm talking to you right now is the Old Fart Survival Guide. And so I have the book, and you can see it listed right up above me right there as well. And this is the chapter that I'm actually telling you about is on chapter 22, and it's on page 390, where he's talking about water, finding and purifying water. I have a video I'm going to show you in just a couple of minutes, but before we show this video, let me go ahead and explain to you again the website, prepper.com. You can find Ron Foster on Amazon.com. You can also find his books on prepper.com, which is probably the quickest way to get to it. Now, when you're traveling, and we're talking about water, catching water and downpour, because we're going to get rain barrels and stuff. I've already got a bunch of containers and stuff outside as well. Now, there are some things that you can make, by the way. So if you do not have gutters around your house, another thing you can do is make these little water. It's like a little rain chain. And we're going to have a show on how to do that as well. And what you can do is put these little rain chains on and it's just like automatically going to go down into a rain barrel or whatever you'd like to catch the water with. And they're pretty too. They're really, really artsy. So I'm going to have that. We're going to have a show about how to make those. It's real simple. You can just use a chain. I mean, you can just go to your garden supply place and just buy a bunch of chain and put that on the corners of your house, on the eaves of your house, and just let it just drain down into this water barrel. That way you don't have all the splatter and the splash if you don't want that on your house. Okay, let's go ahead and I'll go ahead and put the next video in. It's a very short one and it's extremely informative. I think you're going to like this.
Hey everybody, we are in the Boundary Waters in northern Minnesota. This is a great time to talk about ways to purify water. So if you're in the woods, if you're hiking, if you're backpacking, mountain biking, canoeing, you're going to need clean, potable water that's purified, that is rid of any bacteria that's going to be harmful for you. So up here we have a lot of Giardia cases, beaver fever. Now a lot of people will claim this water is safe to drink just out of the lake. And for the most part that's true. It's always better to be safer than sorry, right? You don't want to get Giardia. Beaver fever is no joke. It hits usually 6 to 10 days after your trip. And I've known people with Giardia and it is not fun. So let's go ahead and talk about 5 ways to purify water in the wilderness. The first way, we all know it hopefully, and that is boiling water for 10 minutes. Now, this is a great method if you're going to be cooking and you want hot water anyways, so that's great. Or if you need to make a large amount of water, boiling is great, but you can't always stop if you're hiking or canoeing and boil water, right? You need to get your stove set up. You may need to build a fire. So even though that's a great way, the downside is you got to sit down and take some time to do it. So that's not really the preferred method unless you really have to. But of course you can boil water for about 10 minutes. Another way, this is just bleach. You can put about 3 drops of bleach per gallon in your water, and this will purify your water. This is a method I've been using for years. I really like that method. Another method, I guess method number 3, is using iodine, or Polar Pure is the name of this company. I've been using this for years, since I was in Scouts. Great method, but you have to wait on it. So this is how it works. There's iodine, I guess pellets in the bottom of the Polar Pure. You fill up the bottle. You have to wait an hour for the water inside of it to be purified, and then you use 1 capful per quart to purify your water bottle, and then you got to wait another 20 minutes. So I mean, you know, this is a 20-minute process to an hour and a half process if you got to fill up the water. And the negative is too, this is made out of glass because iodine will eat through plastic. But this is a great way to purify your water. Method number 4 is using a pump. Like 2 hands?
It's nice to get water on it, just like a little tiny water funnel.
Yeah. Cool. So the nice thing about a pump, especially if you don't have a reliable water source, is that you can use the pump for creeks, for trickles, for small springs. Most of them are lightweight these days. Some of the older ones There were parts that could go out, but some of the newer pumps are pretty easy. And a pump is great if you're with 1 or 2 people or maybe by yourself, and you can make as much water as you need. It does take a little bit of work. Number 5 is pretty cool. It's called a steri pen.
Get it in, push it once,
You got Parmesan cheese.
that green light goes, and then you just stir.
So this is what the steri pen uses. It uses ultraviolet light to kill bacteria. I mean, that is pretty awesome. You just have to stir it for about a minute, and the ultraviolet light is going to kill any bacteria in your water bottle. Again, you only want to use it for about a water bottle size, a quart. If you need a large amount of water, you're probably not going to use a steri pen. So those are 5 ways to help you stay safe in the woods. Hopefully this has been helpful. Like, subscribe, keep on watching our videos. We got lots of videos about wilderness stuff, about canoeing, about rafting, a lot of homesteading videos. So check it out, subscribe, and keep on coming back.
We're back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. And we are talking now about surviving without water. Now, I found another article, and this is on the website medicalnewstoday.com, medicalnewstoday.com. And I'm sure that Ron Foster goes along with this as well. How long can you survive without water? And these are really important. We need to know these things. So a person may only survive a few days without water. Various factors affect how much water they need. For this reason, it's not possible to tell exactly how long a person can live without water, but let's go through these, talk about what the average person needs as far as water. Now, dehydration happens quickly, causing extreme thirst, fatigue, and ultimately organ failure and death. Now, a person may go from feeling thirsty and slightly sluggish on the first day with no water without organ failure by the third. Now, dehydration does not affect anyone or everyone in the same way. Each person will have a different tolerance level to dehydration and may be able to survive without water for longer or shorter periods of time than someone else. Now, let's find out and what variables can cause you to live longer maybe without water than someone else. Okay, how long can the average person live without water? The body needs a lot of water to carry out many essential functions, such as balancing the internal temperature, keeping cells alive. As a general rule of thumb, a person can survive without water for about 3 days. However, some factors, such as how much water an individual body needs and how it uses the water, can affect this. Factors may affect how much water a person needs include your age, your activity levels, overall health, bodily factors such as your height and your weight, and your sex. Now, what a person eats may also affect how much water they need. For example, a person who eats water-rich foods such as fruits, juices, or vegetables may not need to drink as much water as someone who has been eating grains, bread, and other dry food. That makes total sense. Now, the environmental conditions a person is in will also affect how much water their body uses. A person living in a very hot climate will sweat, causing them to lose more water. A person in a climate-controlled environment will not sweat, so they will not use up as much water. Because you notice when you're outside, you're working in the yard and it's hot, versus a day that it's really kind of cool outside, you won't need as much water. I'm constantly drinking water when it's heated outside. Now, I have to tell you, in the South, it can kind of get, hot. So if a person who has diarrhea or is vomiting has no access to water, they will lose water much faster than someone without these issues. Now, let's talk about the effects of having no water. Okay, making sure I'm staying on time here for you. Okay, according to the National Institutes of Health, about 2/3 of a person's body weight is water. For example, for a man weighing, say, 70 kilograms, about 60% of the total body weight is water. This equates to 42 liters. All of the cells of the body require water to work, and water is the basis of all bodily fluids, such as your saliva, your blood, your sweat, your urine, and joint fluid. That's why when someone's having joint pain, they tell them to start drinking more water. And that definitely helps up. It does. Okay, so all of the cells of the body require water to work, and water is the basis of all bodily functions. Now, humans can only survive a short amount of time without water because the body needs it for almost every single process, including regulating your body temperature through sweating and breathing, aiding in digestion by forming saliva and breaking down food. You know, your mouth waters when you smell that steak cooking. Moistening the mucous membranes, helping to balance the pH of the body, lubricating your joints and your spinal cord, helping the brain make and use certain hormones. I got to say something here. Let me insert this. People who drink colas all the time, I think that's why they say, it's like that scientists are saying now, and the folks who actually study these things are saying that people who never drink water are more apt to have brain issues. In other words, dementia, Alzheimer's, that kind of thing. That's why we really, really do need to drink more water. Okay, again, helping the brain make and use certain hormones, helping transport toxins out of the cells, eliminating waste through the urine and breathe, delivering oxygen throughout the body. Now, without water, a body cannot function correctly and will begin to stop working. This can result in severe complications. Those complications can be altered mental status. How many times have you seen, let's say, football players, and they have practice runs, and sometimes the coach may go a little bit overboard and he has them out in the hot, hot sun, and they're practicing for the season's football games, and they pass out? It's because they need more water. And I kind of have a little issue about these vitamins, you know, these like Boost and stuff like that tell you that you're going to get this instant energy going, this energy drinks and stuff like that. What comes up quick comes down quick. And I've learned that through many years of living life, like for 66 years almost. That happens. Water is your best resource. Okay, we talked about the altered mental status, kidney failure, shocked liver, low blood pressure, and death. Okay, now the effects of dehydration can come on quickly, especially in extreme hot conditions when a person sweats. So let's say something would happen to the grid, and you know there are all kinds of components. You know, you get your water from the water company, blah 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 blah. It's not just turning on a faucet. There are many components to that. Okay, it takes electricity to run this, and yeah, they'll probably have generators and stuff like that, but those only last a certain amount of time. So at first sight, at first thought of something happens to the grid, you need to start immediately thinking about your water supply. Now, the body uses water to produce sweat, which evaporates and helps to regulate a person's body temperature. Without water, the body cannot produce sweat. This can lead to a dangerous increase in body temperature and put pressure on the fluid in the body, including the blood. This leads to a drop in blood volume. Less blood circulates in the body, causing a severe drop in blood pressure, and the digestive system slows down. At the same time, the mouth dries and the digestive system does slow down. Now, water also helps the body to remove toxins from cells and excrete them through the urine and breath. Without water, the body cannot do this efficiently, causing toxins to build up. Now, a toxic buildup harms the kidneys, which process the removal of toxins from the body. Now, if the kidneys fail, the toxins build up even further, causing widespread organ failure and death. So it just goes on and on. We got to have water. Okay, now the role of food in dehydration. Let's talk about that for just a few minutes. And again, I found this on this website. Let me pull this up. Okay, on the website medicalnewstoday.com. And all of this goes in line with Ron Foster's book, and you can see it right up there. You need to buy this. It's the Old Fart Survival Guide. And this is extremely important. Okay, now the role of food in dehydration. Through drinking water, pure water is the main way a person takes in fluids. Other liquids such as herbal teas, fruit juices, and broth also aid in hydration. Now let me talk about fruit juices. If you can possibly do this, it doesn't take long. Once you get it down pat, I'm just telling you, it takes no time. If you don't have fruit, if you live in an apartment somewhere, you can still go to the farmer's market and you can buy blackberries, you can buy blueberries, you can buy all kinds of stuff. Ask the farmer if he's used anything, let's say any kind of chemical additives or anything like that in his garden to keep down weeds and stuff like that. Better yet, grow them your own. Now, the first summer, you won't have a big reap of any of the berries or anything like that. But the second year on, as long as you prune everything and take good care of it, you'll have more berries than you can deal with. And you'll have plenty of berries to have your own juice. Okay, let me tell you about store-bought juice. I'm saying store-bought juice. The only thing about store-bought juice is if you buy anything that's 100% and it has no additives, no sugars, no nothing out there like that in it, okay, it's going to be very expensive if you buy it from Whole Foods. Now, if you make your own, even if you have to have 1 tablespoon of sugar in a quart of your own juice that you make, that's okay. That can make it a little sweeter. But I'm just telling you, it's going to cost you a small fortune. Now, you buy it from the regular grocery store. It has, look at the contents, okay? If you're seeing fructose, if you're seeing all kinds of sugars and stuff, things you can't even pronounce that are in there, it's probably not going to be good for your body. You're better off to have your own berry bush or go to the farmer's market and make your own. And it's extremely easy to do. You buy canning jars, are going to be the biggest expense you've got. But even if they're $1 a piece, you go to the Dollar Tree and buy them for $1.25. You've spent that one time. As long as you don't break jars, you're okay. So, and we've been saving jars for decades. Okay. Now, let's see. Many foods contain water that contributes, and we talked about that, to a person's total water intake. And those examples include your fruits, your berries, and your greens. That's like when we say, go with the greens. However, let's see. However, not all foods will help hydrate the body. Very dry, salty foods, such as salty chips. Okay, you eat a bag of chips, and what are you constantly searching for? Water. I've got to have something to do. And I do it too. Everybody does. Packaged snacks, and those may worsen your dehydration. Now, drinks containing alcohol or caffeine may dehydrate the body faster, as they cause excessive urination. I'm telling you, my one vice, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do anything like that. But I'm a coffeeholic. I gotta have my coffee. Okay, drinks containing alcohol or caffeine, again, may dehydrate the body faster, as they call excessive urination. Now, let's talk about dehydration risk. Okay, the symptoms of dehydration can appear quickly. And again, I want you to go to this website, medicalnewstoday.com, and go to prepper.com as well, and then buy all of Ron Foster's books. Something happens to the grid, you got to have a book so you can turn a page, right? So you can learn about all this stuff. Now, the symptoms of dehydration can appear quickly. If the body starts to lose water, it may send signals to the brain to trigger a response that the person will notice. People may be familiar with minor symptoms of dehydration, such as having a very dry mouth or feeling very thirsty. Now, for most people, drinking when thirsty will give them enough water to function and thrive. Okay, this is something back in the olden days when I went to grammar school, the teachers taught us all these really cool things. One of those things was talking about dehydration. And they would say, lift up your skin right here on your hand, put it down. Okay, if it immediately pops back in, okay, and you see no time, then that means that you are completely hydrated. Okay, so you don't have a whole lot to worry about. That's a quick way to find out if you need hydration. Now, I have drank a lot of coffee today, this morning. Okay, so I'm somewhat dehydrated, I'm certain. So I'll let you see just a little bit closer. I'm holding the skin. See how it took just a couple of seconds to go back down again? See, that's how you can tell. Okay, and I have done this before when I've been outside working out, and maybe I just didn't take enough time to drink some water. And it would take just 3 seconds to go down. Ooh, I'm getting close to dehydration. So again, that's a quick trick just to see right here on your skin down. See, mine went down pretty quick, so I'm okay even after drinking all that water, all that coffee. But I drink a lot of water too, and a lot of fruit juices. Okay, now the symptoms can appear quickly if the body starts to lose weight. It may send signals to the brain. People may be familiar with some of these symptoms, and we talked about the dry mouth, very thirsty. For most people, drinking when thirsty will give them enough water to function and thrive. Now, according to these signals, and getting water into the body is crucial, as a study in BMC Public Health notes water makes up 60% of a person's body weight, and losing as little as 3% of this weight through body loss may lead to dehydration. I wanted to mention this to you, and I asked a teacher about this one time, and she was talking about how much water our body actually is. And so I asked her, because back in the day, we had a globe, and each classroom had a globe. And you notice the mass of land, then you notice there's more water to the globe, to our Earth system, than there is mass. And I didn't know quite how to ask her, but in essence, what I asked, the older Donna can tell you how I asked it, is this a comparison of any sort to our human body, where we have such a mass of water making up our bodies, in comparison to the globe, to the world, to Earth as we see it? Again, you got the body mass. And this teacher looked at me and smiled, and she said, "You get it." That was cool. That's been when we had teachers that would teach stuff like that, which is remarkable. You need to be teaching your kids and your grandkids if the teachers aren't doing it, okay? So you need to be doing that. Now, if a person ignores these signs or cannot get water, the body will respond. The brain will send signals to the body to conserve water and urinate less. This will also slow down the function of the kidneys. Okay, you'll notice sluggishness or lack of energy. You'll probably get a headache. You're going to get dizzy. You might get confused. Heat stroke and heat cramps. Stiff joints that may eventually stick and not work properly. Raised or otherwise unregulated body temperature. Swelling in the brain. Sharp changes in blood pressure. You may even get seizures. This person may have to go to shock, and they may become unresponsive. Now, drinking water on a regular basis keeps those cells healthy, and when a person's body rapidly loses water, the body cells will start to shrink as water leaves them. So all of this stuff right here makes total sense, doesn't it? Maybe the things you learned in school are coming back to you. Okay, here's the summary. And again, then this is according to medicalnewstoday.com. Medicalnewstoday.com. You need to teach this to your kids right now. Get the show and share it. Okay, I'm not all that great. It's just that I do a lot of research. Okay, hydration is essential for human body. While some people may be able to survive for weeks without food, they can only survive a few days at most without water. Drinking water and eating foods that contain a lot of water may help prevent dehydration. Okay, now that brought me into another thought. Okay, so out in the garden, I have been planting watermelons like crazy. I'm also planting a lot of cantaloupes and all of these things, and cucumbers. Foods like that have water in them. So if something were to happen to the grid, and maybe we don't have the water supply we would like to have, we're going to have those fruits and vegetables that we can eat, hopefully. And I'm excited about that. You may want to think about canning stuff like that instead of dehydrating them, because dehydrating them, you're going to have to fill them full of water again, right? So those are things we have to think about as well. Now, here's the summary. Hydration is essential for human life. While some people may be able to survive for weeks without food, they can only go a few days at most, without water. Drinking water and eating foods that contain a lot of water may help prevent dehydration. Now, without water, dehydration can rapidly affect your body depending on the person's environment. We talked about that, and their exertion levels. Okay, if you've been out plowing fields and plowing for food, that's going to take up a lot. You work outside, you're in construction, that kind of thing, you're going to be more prone to dehydration than the person who works in the office, who has have some kind of air conditioning or whatever going on there. So depending on your environment and your exertion levels, you'll notice a difference within a few hours. Now, if a person has diarrhea or vomiting, their body may be losing the water faster. That's why when they tell you, when an event happens, you've got tornadoes, hurricanes, all those kinds of things, they tell you to try. They tell you to try to. Okay, I've got a text that's just come in. So they tell you to try your best to be civil, try your best not to get upset, because getting upset also causes pressure in your mind. Now, generally, a person who drinks when they feel thirsty should be at risk of dehydration. These are things that we've all got to think about. And again, should something happen with our electricity, should the grid go down, if you've got your books, this can help save your life. You've got a book that you can turn a page and you can see, what can I do? If I want to go fishing, I found a water hole, I found somewhere where I can go fishing. What if I don't have fishing hooks? Did you know that you can use the top of a can like a cola can? Save those. I've been saving all of those for a long time. Save them, because what you can do is cut it, and then you can kind of twist it a particular way and make a fishing hook. If you don't have a fishing hook, that's all kinds of great things that you can do. And all of those things, you can find them in Ron's books right here. So make sure you get that. Go to Amazon.com and it's yours. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Donna, and I am your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. You can find us absolutely syndicated on Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com. Again, thank you so much for watching.